What's going on, family? My name is Lawrence Adjah, host of Watch God Work. If you're new to this channel, our intentional goal is to give you both inspiration and practical wisdom to live a good life, aka a godly life, where you live to intentionally see God at work in every area of your life. We're not going to waste any time. Y'all, Facebook and Instagram went down. Facebook and Instagram went down yesterday, and everybody was losing their minds. I know for many people, when you started, you woke up, you were like, yo. Now, the goal of this is not just to talk about that, the fact that it went down, but actually, what does this mean, particularly if you're somebody who owns a business that was particularly online? What did that mean? What perhaps, or could we learn from what happened, and perhaps what wisdom and inspiration could we take from this? And so I'm going to start by jumping into one of my favorite places to read, which is NPR. So let's go to this. Let's look at this article. Bam. All right. Now, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram suffer a worldwide outage. Now, I'm going to read a little bit, but I'm not going to read too much. Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp platforms are back online after a massive global outage plunged the services and the businesses and people who rely on them into chaos for hours. Facebook said late Monday that the root cause of this outage was a faulty configuration change and that there is no evidence that user data was compromised as a result. The company apologized and said it's working to understand more about the cause, which again around 11:40. Boom. Now, I'm going to pause there. I'm not going to get too much into it. As you guys know, some of you may or may not know, Facebook was started on my campus by my classmate. I love Facebook. I love Instagram and WhatsApp. WhatsApp has just connected my family. I have family in Nigeria, all over the world. So I appreciate its products, but I also appreciate the conversation that's happening around social media and its ethics. And so I do think that's a healthy conversation. So I'm just going to pause there. But I don't want to focus on that. The main thing I want to focus on is like, what does this mean? Right? I can imagine, number one, there's, I think, three things that could come or you could take away from this whole thing. Now, one, if you were a person whose entire livelihood lived and existed on social media, on your Instagram page, on your shop, on your Facebook page, on your ads, and all of those things. Now, you could argue that the ads are lagging and that probably didn't get impacted that much. But if your day-to-day work is all rooted on that, what did that tell you? What did that tell you? And I think there's one piece of wisdom, which is saying you should perhaps diversify your client channels, the place in which you interact with people. And I think that the big thing for us, for many people, is sometimes we forget that the end of the day, the goal is people. And social media is a great platform. Don't get me wrong. You could reach people you've never reached before. There are people who are killing it through Facebook ads, who are able to get in front of people who would never know about their service. And they're doing good service and have good products that help people. Please hear me in that. That is great. But if in one, because of something outside of your power, a whole system, social media could all shut down, your phones, you can't get in contact with clients, you're not getting any orders, none of this is happening, you can't post your reels, you can't reach more people, you can't do anything. What do you do? And so I think, again, number one, wisdom is diversifying your client channels. I think that's just wisdom for anyone. I think this is the same thing that happened during the pandemic. When people realized that their job, their lives could change. And so many people realize, you know what? I can't rely upon one piece or one stream of income. It's a similar thing. I probably can't rely upon these two behemoths for all of my business. I have to diversify my risk. Now, I think that's an obvious takeaway for most people. But then there is two, which is somewhat of the learning that we should have taken from the pandemic, which is in an instant, your life could change. Instant, all the things that you knew to be normal or status quo or normal course of operations could shift. And so if your business was primarily just social media, then that could stop. That could end. And I think this is like helpful wisdom for us, because I think the reality is that anything could end, no matter what your career is, whether you are a professional athlete, you know, you're playing on Sunday. I heard the Cowboys won. I'm a Giants fan. I ain't really rock with them anyway, but you know, but one turn, one play, an injury could end your whole career. You could drive, make a right turn, somebody runs the light, things could shift. Your whole life could change, or your business, which is running well, everything is good, it looks like you're invincible, and then the entire platform, which hosts your business and gives us its lifeline, could stop. This is why, whether or not you believe in God or not, I think there's something to be said around God, around if my life is rooted in this, how could I ever have any peace, or how could I ever just like, just not be stressed out all the time? And I think this is why us, reminding ourselves that God is ultimately the end all be all, or that I don't have my peace in this channel, but I have my peace in God. I think that's why I think knowing about God, learning about God, being in sync with God is really, really powerful. I saw a post by my sister, our sister Dara Lagbami, the CEO and the editor in chief of Grace Magazine Online this morning, and it inspired this because I already read this article and I wanted to have a conversation. Then I saw that, and I'm just like, this is spot on with what I've been talking about. Um, but I think there's also another thing that is a helpful takeaway, which is just that, it reminds you who your true source is, right? And not that a channel is your source. This is like, so somebody who lost a job but found they got income from another source they weren't even anticipating that they would get it from. There was a conversation we had with Dr. Matisa Wilbon, and she was talking about how she, was a teacher, had to relocate to Atlanta, and in her relocation to Atlanta, she was just expecting and just believing that she would have gotten the job immediately. And she did not get the professional position, even though she's exceptional and just well cited, and has done great work to be in her position to get one. She didn't get it. But God had shown out and reminded her that he is the source, not so much that job or that channel, but that there is another source. And she was able to start a business that did almost 10x what she was taking home in her professor role. Similarly, I think that if Instagram or if Facebook is a primary source of income, that is a beautiful thing and that is great. One, you should definitely diversify. I think everybody understands that. But two, do not be confused and deluded into thinking that that is your source. It is a channel, but it is not a source. And so if you believe that it was your source, yesterday probably shook you up a bit. It probably shook you up a whole bit. You couldn't do much. You couldn't really do much of anything, but not because I just couldn't do work, but because much deeper you saw how frail and just how fickle your livelihood was. But what would it look like if you really then just really believed and were reminded that your livelihood, your true source is not this thing, that even if this thing goes down, God will find a way to provide for you if you put your faith in him and believe. And so I think that this was a helpful lesson for us. It reminded me in a lot of senses, like, yo, things can happen in a flash. This is quick. And so, I'm grateful that Facebook is back and Instagram is back. Not for the people who struggle with distractions, but I'm just grateful it's back. I'm grateful that people can get back to work. But I don't think we should speed past this without seeing the wisdom that could come from it, and perhaps some warning and some heeding to both diversify, but to two, ultimately recognize that, you know what, I have to actually, recognize that God is my source. And you know what, I have to find my security then. And that's going to be very, very important. And then in a matter of an instant, anything could change it. So I should never feel too proud or get on my high horse like I'm balling and big balling out, and then recognize that in one day it could all change. And that's a message that we've gotten for the past couple of years. And I think it's a message that will be helpful for us to revisit. And I think we were forced to revisit it. As an aside, Twitter was out there trolling, but they've had their moments too. So be careful to call out those who are falling, lest you may fall the same way. And I'm not going to go into the direct words. One last thing, for those who kind of want to be extra practical, a great, great, great scripture for people to check out is Proverbs 3:25. Have no fear of sudden disaster or of the ruin that overtakes the wicked. Essentially, it is just like with faith in God, with a strong footing, you don't really have fear of sudden disaster or things like that. And so I think a reminder is to root ourselves in that. And that's a helpful scripture to remind yourself if you are feeling anxious, if that did have you feeling a bit off. I think it was a helpful reminder, but I think that's a great scripture to kind of rock with. And so hopefully this helps. Y'all, if you are not subscribed to our show, Watch God Work, please make sure that you go to our YouTube page, hit the subscription button, and hit the notification bell. Send us a note, hit us up in the comments, let us know what you think about everything. But again, I think this is a great reminder. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this wisdom. All right, speak soon.